Hey, how's it going, guys? My name's Tujin. Welcome to MBT Studios. And I have a confession to make. So a couple reviews back, we reviewed the Denon A110, their 110th anniversary integrated amplifier that absolutely blew me away. I wanted that amplifier, but there was one problem. It was a bit above my price bracket, and it's not something I could afford at this stage of my life. So, you know what? It was something that really blew me away, and I think when we had it, in the studio, I think Jay had it hooked up to some Triangle Borea 8s at the time, and that is a modest speaker. It's about $1,400 USD, but paired with the Denon PMA-1600NE, I was absolutely blown away. The mid-range was something that I was, used to hearing with much more expensive equipment. Like when Jay and I both worked retail, we had, expensive Macintosh amps with some Sonos favorite speakers, and, those speakers, you would mentally in your head, in my head, I would know that those speakers would sound amazing. But it was when I heard the A110 with, such modest speakers and still getting a similar experience, especially in that mid-range department, I was absolutely at a loss for words. And then to top it all off, the build was just absolutely incredible. It looked amazing. The remote was just very premium, and it just did everything that it was supposed to do really well. So I wanted that amplifier, but I couldn't afford it. So you know what? I knew that the PMA line was not just exclusive to the A110. There is the little brother called the PMA-1600NE that I have with me today, and I bit the bullet and bought this amplifier with my own money, and I am very happy I did. So before we talk about sound and my overall experience and why I'm happy with this amplifier, let's talk about the specs and the overall features and inputs. So this is a 40-pound integrated amplifier. It is a hefty unit, and it essentially is rated at 70 watts at 8 ohms, and it doubles into 140 watts at 4 ohms. It is a Class AB design, and it is pretty straightforward. So it's all single-ended inputs, so there's about 6 inputs. It also has a phono pre built inside. It also does have a DAC with optical and coaxial input in, and it has some unique features. So the remote itself is basically what you would get with any Denon or Marantz product. It's nothing crazy, but it's nice that you can use it with the CD player and you can use a single remote for that. But it also has tone controls, and it has some unique features like a pure analog mode that completely disables the digital compartment, which are the DAC, inside in case you don't want to use it at all. And then it also has basically a tone control bypass, a pure direct mode that basically turns off the tone controls. You may have accidentally turned a knob and it may be affecting the sound, and you might be annoyed by that. So by pushing the pure direct mode, you don't have to worry about any of that. And then at the top, it has a little mini OLED screen that essentially tells you what input you're using. And the actual volume knob is really premium, and the way it moves and just the way you turn the knob is an added bonus. It's something that I'm really surprised to get at this price point. And this is relatively around $1,600 USD, but it does go on sale for some absolute stellar deals. So do some research, look around before buying this unit, because you can get them on sale. So what makes this unit so attractive for me? For one, I don't normally use the built-in DAC in my integrated amplifiers. In fact, I normally have my Schiit Gunnier multibit, which is basically a multibit DAC from Schiit, similar to an R2R design, and it's something that I love, hold very dearly, and I use not only my speaker setup but with my headphones as well. Now, Because I use a separate DAC, I like using the analog bypass, or the pure analog mode, which is really nice. And you know, whether or not I hear a difference, it's just a nice added touch that I can appreciate. And then on top of that, the phono preamp is a very nice touch. I use it with my Denon 300 turntable. I'm not a huge vinyl nut, but it's something nice to have as well. Now, in the past, I had, well, the amp I had before this was the Shit Ragnarok 2. And it appealed to me because it was not only a speaker amp, but it also doubled as a headphone amplifier with the switching functionality in the remote. But the funny thing is, I've owned this amp twice. I prematurely sold it, and I actually bought it back from the buyer I sold it to because selling it was a mistake, quite frankly. And I prematurely sold it to get the Shit Ragnarok 2, and I just wasn't happy. Well, I feel like I would have been happy if I never heard this amplifier with my speakers, but now that I have, I absolutely want it in my system. And that comes back to my story with the A110. It's similar because when I had this amp in my system, not only did it sound a lot more dynamic, but the mid-range just was taken to another level. I enjoy my KEF R100s because I always found them easy to listen to with a nice real-to-life, true-to-life mid-range, but this amplifier just took it to another level, and I don't see myself ever going back down. And the Ragnarok 2, while being a very clean amplifier, it wasn't what I was looking for. And then, you know, I also had the Eagle H190 in the past, and I actually prefer this over the Eagle H190. And that's just a difference in flavor. While the Eagle H190 was able to enable a wider sound stage with more detail with my KEF R100s, that's not necessarily what I want from a speaker. I believe that if the mid-range sounds euphoric, I'm basically happy. But this does more than just a good mid-range. The bass has a lot more authority, and it also made me try new things. So I'm used to my integrated amplifiers having analog pre-outs. That's usually how I connect my subwoofer. Sometimes they have a high-pass filter built in, but some don't. Now with the Denon, you get a A post and a B post for speakers A and B. And that's good if you want to buy amp or, you know, have two sets of speakers. But what I did was I used the high-level input from my KEF R400 subwoofer, and it actually made blending my subwoofer much easier compared to using, you know, a high-pass filter and a, you know, relying on the analog crossover component with the subwoofer. It just, I don't know, it was just going from the actual amp, getting the actual sound signature from the amp to my sub just made blending it and the overall musicality just so much better. And I usually use a high-pass filter with my speakers. Some speakers just definitely need it, like the Fines right behind me. But with the R100s and that R400 sub, with this amplifier, I was just having a splendid experience, and I'm glad I tried the high-level input. So what I did was I essentially got the B speaker posts wired up to the subwoofer with the A speaker posts wired up to my speakers. And that overall just gave me a wonderful experience. So what are my final thoughts on the Denon PMA-1600NE? Well, if you appreciate a smooth and luscious mid-range, this is the amplifier for you. It does have a load of headroom for dynamics. I feel like it is underrated in terms of power. And overall, as a package, I believe it's a really good bargain, especially when on sale. Now, if I have any complaints, it's really just the lack of the balanced XLR and maybe the remote. The remote isn't the best remote out there. It's just generic. But if you ever lose it, it's cheap to replace. So it's a win, you know, give or take situation. But overall, I'd recommend this amplifier. I'm having a blast with it. And if you want to have zero fatigue with your listening sessions and you find that your speaker is a bit too forward or a bit too aggressive, this might be the amplifier that you're looking for. But besides that, if you guys have any questions, leave a comment down below. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe, because we are trying to hit that 100K mark eventually, maybe by the end of 2021, who knows, but that one click goes a long way. And if you like our channel and you want to keep us independent, please consider our Patreon because it does help when you guys join. So with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.